Hi.
Is that a stressful hour-long drive from one side of town to the other?
It's always the work all day, get immediately to the RV, pack everything up, drive to the other side of town, and then have to redo everything.
Yeah. So we did a video right at the beginning about setting up our water and power and everything, but what we haven't shown you is how we level our RV, so how we get level on a site. So Josh is going to show you some tools that we bought to help us with that. And honestly, this site is pretty level. It's pretty dang close, but you want to be perfectly level for your fridge and your doors and your cabinets and your slides and everything. So yeah, just show us what to do.
Yeah, so we just pulled onto the spot. What we have started doing is get the RV as level as possible before you even start using the jacks. So if that means pulling forward or pulling backwards or going left and right a little bit, find that like perfect spot on your site where you're happy with it. There's enough space on the other side that you can enjoy it, but you're not going out of your way to do work, because the wheels being on the ground is what takes a lot of the vibrations and the, I don't know, what would you call it?
Like wiggling?
Yeah, it takes a lot of the wiggle out, because like the suspension of the RV is actually acting as like a dampener for wiggles. Now that we're using that word.
Yeah, so when we first pulled up, I kind of came back to where the power is, and I just told Josh that I thought he shouldn't back up anymore, because I don't know if it'll show on camera, but right here it goes kind of down a little hill. So if he had backed up anymore, we were going to have quite a bit of angle to deal with on our with our leveling. So where we are right now, we've got, what did you say, it was about 0.4 degrees?
About 0.4
off of level?
Back down, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, show us how we do it.
So we have a couple of options here. These are our leveling blocks, and you can see, if you want to zoom in, that some of these are pretty dorked up from extreme leveling. So always make sure that those are sitting on top.
Got some general aviation. That's not what's making that noise. That's like a KLM jet.
Anyway.
So what do we do with these?
So these are going to go under your jack pads. What it does is gives you a little bit more range for the jack, because it can only go up and down so far. So if you have a pack of leveling blocks, I think they come in a pack of 10. I always make sure I use all 10, because the further your jack comes out, the less stability it has, because what actually holds the jack in place is the outer cylinder. So obviously if your jack is higher up in there, you have a lot more stability than if the jack is further out.
Yeah.
So this will also help with wiggles.
Well, we also went, we probably did our first 2 or 3 trips with 1 pack, and then we did go back and get a second pack. So you see we've got 20 now.
Yeah, use all of them. Like if you slide this thing under there and it's like barely under the jack pad, you did your job right. So I usually, since the back is a little low, I'm going to put a little extra in the back and then put the rest in the front.
So you'll do those tall stacks in the back and the short ones in the front?
Something else that we bought is these drive-on ramps. So what you can do is just drive up onto the little segmented spots with the tires, and then it has a chalk that sits in here, and you could use that instead of using some of your leveling blocks.
And we've pretty much figured out that you have to be within 2 degrees or under 2 degrees.
Yeah, I think under 2 degrees is our like sweet spot for getting everything at a comfortable level.
Right, so it's 2 degrees or less, and our leveling system can handle that.
Right.
If it's more than 2 degrees, we use the ramps.
Yeah.
Sometimes we even still use the ramps if it's close, like 1 or 1.5.
Yeah.
Just to take a little pressure off of the leveling jacks.
Yeah. But again, the key is to get the RV as level as possible before you start using your jacks. So this guy right here really helps with that. Every RV is going to be different though, so you're going to have to like kind of play around with it to see like where your sweet spot is. Yours might be like, you know, more than 2 or less than 2. So I think the key is to take it out and just play around with it and see what works the best for yours. Crank the RV and then let the jacks down.
We've gotten pretty good at this in all of our trips, but I usually do just watch and make sure that the blocks are stacked up in the right place and that they kind of go to the center. And tell us what you're doing using the auto level.
Yeah, so we have the Lippert electric leveling system. All you have to do is go inside and press auto level. That's it. It takes care of the rest. So what it's doing right now is grounding all the jacks to make sure that they're seated on those blocks that we put down. And then it usually lifts the front first, and then it uses the back to level the RV left and right. I think what we saw on the internet was, if at all possible, try to be nose down, because it has an easier time leveling left and right, but this wasn't really an option for this site, so
Jacks are down.
done.
Done?
Yep, so I have a little digital readout up here. So it says the RV is level. Always go back through it just to verify. And it says front to rear is 0, and then left and right is 0. So that's it. The key is to get the RV level first.
Awesome. We'll put the slides out.
Ready for the slides?
Yep.
All right.
All right. We're level. So you guys can see what how much floor space we have. I have my work cut out for me to get us all set back up.
This is where Rachel and I usually part ways, and I do everything on the outside and she does everything on the inside.
Well, it depends. Depends on how much outside, because if we're putting out our, so if we put out like our chairs and our tent and like our rug and everything, I usually do that while Josh works on the power and the water and the sewer. So yeah, we usually at least work on different sides of the RV. But today I'll probably work on getting us set back up inside and making the kitties happy because they're hiding in our bed right now.
Something else that I found that was in our manuals is when you're letting the slides out, to make sure that you hold the button until you hear the audible click off of the motors. And what that does is let the motors resync themselves every time you let the slides in and out, and it keeps you from getting out of level, I guess.
Out of sync, yeah.
Cool. You ready to do the outside? So this is our water hold. It looks really messy right now.
We were just moving across town, so we didn't.
Yeah, we just kind of just threw everything in. We're gonna pull it back out. So.
Gonna tell us about some of the upgrades we've made since our first trip.
Yeah, sure. So one of the upgrades we made is our heated water hose. We were living in DC before this, and it got real cold. So we finally broke down and bought this thing. It was like $120 or something like that, but totally worth it because it's a really high quality water hose. And then whenever the temperature does drop down a little bit, I'll plug it in, and that's all you have to do. Rachel is convinced that if I plug it in when it's cold outside, she has more hot water for a shower. So I don't know if that's true, but whatever makes Rachel happy.
Also, the original water hose we had was a garden hose, not a drinking hose, which is why we're still using the heated hose even though it's basically summer now.
Correct.
You don't have to plug in the heat for the hose. You also don't have to have two hoses. You want to get us plugged in so we can get AC for the kitties? Luckily, it's not too bad today. The high was only 75.
I think the only bad part about this hose is the sheathing on the outside is rubberized, so it makes it really sticky. So like when you're putting it in and out of the hole or trying to move it, like it grabs everything. So always make sure that the circuit breaker is off before you plug in. That's a lot of lightning in there. So we always plug into the 50 amp. I plug the Tesla into the 30 amp. And then we have the two 120s for whatever else we need. We usually run an extension cord over to our little like outdoor tent and stuff so that we have power over there. This is bleach solution, just to make sure that the water is clean before I hook it up. So what I do is I spray everything off, turn it on and let it run for a second. A lot of times if these pipes have been sitting stagnant for a while, they'll build up a little bit of, I guess, rust and other sediments. So I give that a second to let everything run through and get clean water going before I hook it up to the RV.
People are probably wondering where the pressure regulator is.
Yes. So when we first bought the pressure regulator, I kept it on the water hose end, but I had to take it off every time to go through this little passage to get outside the RV. On top of that, we also had a
Shut up, bird.
a Y, so that I could hook up an external water hose and use that for whatever I needed to wash the RV or spray something down. And so after a couple of times of doing that, I got tired of moving it on and off the water hose, and I moved everything inside. So as you can see right here, we have our pressure regulator hooked up to our Y. So city water is coming in through here. I have a shutoff valve for it. You have your Y, one's going into the RV, and then the other is going into our outside water hose. So all I have to do is turn this on, and you see the water hose filling up. So that makes it super easy. The water hose is hooked up all the time. All I have to do is pull it out, turn it on, good to go. One of the things that we did is I replaced the water filter that came with it. The one that Winnebago put on here was great. It was the same size, but it was just like the cheapest housing that you've ever seen. I think the first time or two that we took it on and off, we ended up like splitting part of the fitting. So I went to Home Depot and I got a really nice one that you could see through, so that I could actually see if there's any buildup or something growing in there before I use it. And I also had to replace this one-way valve. I think that guy broke, I don't know, the first couple of trips we did.
Oh man, it was
pretty early.
It was like a month in, yeah.
So I ended up buying a metal one so that we didn't have to worry about it anymore. The one that Winnebago put in was plastic, which was, you know, it was going to break eventually. And I put it in hoping that it would solve the the noise issue. So whenever you use water, you would hear the water go by the valve, and it would make like
A mooing
a
sound.
cow noise. Yeah, it would be like, so.
And our bedroom is on the other side of this wall.
Made interesting showers
Yeah.
for me first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So I took that valve out and then put this manual valve on. So all that does is keep the water from backflowing when you're hooked up to city water. But the benefit is, without that valve in there, now I can let water come backwards through the system and wash out my filter. And I can also use my water hose with my water pump.
Yeah, I usually set up on this side while Josh is doing the other side. So I usually get out our rug and our chairs and just whatever other things we want to set out. Since we're full timing, we haven't been getting out as much stuff as we do when we just weekend, but I think I am going to set up the rug here because we don't have a paved patio here. And if we don't set up the rug, we're just going to be tracking all the gravel and dirt into the RV. So yeah, I guess I'm going to set that stuff up. All done. We got here right at 5. It is 5 till 6, so a little less than an hour. And we filmed, so we were a little slower than usual. So yeah, not too bad.
So that you have a good zero whenever your slide is going out.
Say all that again.
No.
Yes, you have just like an open hole, but
You don't